Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. I am your host, your purveyor of all things dorky within the scope of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I am Grumm. Hello. Good to see you guys. Well, I guess good. I'm glad that I'm in your earballs right now. Your earballs are beautiful. They're spacious. They're roomy, and I like them. I'm going to move into them. Hello. Good episode. Fun episode today. It is the first ever Kiss My Foot match between Bret Hart and Jerry the King Lawler at King of the Ring 1995, which emanated from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I've got SandyJ, I've got JHawkBeerMaker back. They're making their returns on the podcast. It's a good one. It's a weird one. I mean, you can kind of guess where the topic goes when you're doing a match about feet. There's a fun story after the break about stuff. But it's a good episode. Next week's episode is a fun one. It's a 52nd episode, full calendar year. People are like, oh, you celebrate the anniversary, and I'm like, yeah, but you could also celebrate 52 a full calendar year, right? Like you're like, yeah, full calendar year. So that's what I did. That's what I'm doing. I have yet not recorded the week after, but I do have stuff planned. We're good. We're getting back to where we need to be. McMahon coming up. A lot of fun. I think I'll actually I'm going to work on some stuff for that, but I think I'm going to I'll let you guys know as we get closer what the lineup is for McMahon, both guests and topic. That is the plan. I don't have too much, look, all right, so a little peek into my personal life. I've always been a advocate and a proponent of mental health, wellness, going to therapy. I always tell people to go get therapy. It's big. It's an absolute godsend, I guess. I did a little bit of it, and I just never got back around to getting back into it. And recently, contacted a place or two, looked into a couple therapists to set up some things. If I had known that telling a bunch of people to do therapy would put me on waiting list for availability, I would have told y'all not to get therapy and kept it to myself and let that be my superpower. But no, I'm kidding. So I'm it's weird. I have this energy. I think it's not like a positive energy, but like positive energy. I think I always tend to have, but it's just like clarity energy. It's just like I see the goal, I see the end, like I see the finish line a bit, right? But like it's not a finish line, but it's a check mark, I guess, checkpoint. When you're playing the games and you're like, all right, gotta get to the checkpoint, and you're like, yes, got it. That's kind of what because I feel like starting the process it was and always is like the hardest thing. So that's my little rant, to do. To start this week's episode. If you're thinking about it, I tweeted out like asking what people look for in a therapist or how they go about looking for the right therapist, because I feel most people are like, oh, like you find a therapist and then you hopefully you gel, there's so many you can find, like even if you don't fall under or aren't a part of like the LGBTQ community, or like or you're not a sex worker but you're sex positive, or this, having a therapist who is has a focus in that, or is open to that, like is modern thinking, I think is good, because a lot of you hear those the story like, oh, like they just kind of like my therapist kind of just put the blame this or that. They put the blame on this thing, and they were just kind of cold. I didn't feel like I connected to them. And then I met this one who's like, yeah, no, okay, all right, and it feels like, they're not supposed to tell you what you want to hear. They're supposed to tell you what you need to hear, but you would like them to tell you what you need to hear in a way that is helpful and constructive, and not like, like, well, like do this or not. you've heard. I've heard the story. I've heard not horror stories, but I've heard not great experiences. Um, but it was just interesting because there were thoughts that I didn't think. Like I didn't even think about that. Like looking for a therapist who would be specifically like is a part of that. Not a part of that, but like does therapy about that, or has the same who has similar political leanings as myself, or like I have friends who specifically needed a woman, or they needed specifically somebody who looked like them to be their therapist. And I guess that's probably just the fact that I haven't. I mean, everybody needs mental. I think mental. Or I think therapy is a must for everybody because it helps having somebody to talk to that isn't somebody who isn't your like somebody who you just pay like, hey, like here's your money, I need to just dump this on you, you're trained to deal with this, in a sense, but I don't know, it just never crossed my mind to me. And I don't want to say like it's like it's a mental health privilege thing, but it's like I've never just thought about that, which is it's just I don't know, I'm in a good mood, I'm in a great mood because we got a good crew, good episode recorded. We recorded that this within the week, so this is one of the freshest episodes you'll ever gonna get here on the Dork Side of the Ring. It is myself, JHawkBeerMaker, SandyJ, talking about the Kiss My Foot match between Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler from 1995 King of the Ring, coming from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, here on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast. I saw today there was, I don't know if you guys saw, but it was on Twitter. This guy was just like, this is my neighbor Mike, and he cuts his grass with scissors, like find a new hobby, Mike. God. And immediately everybody was down this they were cooking this guy because he's just like, he's making fun of the guy taking pride in his in his yard. But like yard, yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, but also, like, the Venn diagram of people who take pride in their lawn and then, like, unnecessarily judge other people's lawn is, like, damn near a circle. Like, you get a guy like, you get a guy like this Mike, he probably is like, I'm doing everything I can for my lawn. Dude, what are you doing, huh? You got some brown spots over there, and it's like, I mean, I'm not wasting water sitting there, making sure. Like, I've seen the people who are just sitting there, like, spraying their lawn because they don't have a sprinkler. So they're just sitting there with a hose, and I'm like, just get a sprinkler. Like, trust that the sprinkler will do. Put it in the driveway and then have it go over. Especially, like, in the neighborhoods that were just, like, developed homes and that are, like, that don't have the biggest yards. And it's just like, you get a decent sprinkler that's going to have a good radius and like length where you don't have to put it in the lawn where you're afraid it's going to brown some spot, like, or also when you're done, move it. Like, don't leave it in the one spot the whole time.
No, I remember these when I was a kid, and they still kind of make them, the tractor that, like, did you ever see the lawn sprinklers that were a tractor, and like it would, as the water came out of it, the tractor would roll forward, and you actually laid the hose out where you wanted the sprinkler to go, and the tractor itself would drive forward from the water pressure, and you put the front wheel of the tractor over top the hose, so the tractor would drive along the hose all over. So like you'd set it in one side of your yard and then put it on top of the hose, and it would drive itself to the other end of the hose, basically. Huh. Did you ever see those? Like,
no, I never saw them.
Just like a Midwestern or Kansas thing.
I don't remember seeing those, but I mean, then again, that's like one of those things where the only thing I cared about with the sprinkler was jumping through it as a kid.
yeah, it was the like little. Let's see if I can.
Just like envisioning like it was automatic, right? It wasn't remote controlled.
No, it just it followed the hose. It just like as it sprinkled. I switched over. I tried using Rob's recommended thing, and I stopped using it. Now I'm using G-Shot again for screenshots. Yeah, so gotcha. No, it just like the water pressure caused its little tires to roll forward. Most of them were actually yellow.
Huh. Yeah, no, I've never seen that.
And then they would just as they sprinkled, it would push it forward, and the front wheel would just follow the hose, and it would just like water the lawn.
That's I want to know who made that. That is like
it's really old.
It really, yeah, like this is definitely like, you know, something that stopped getting produced, but people are still using it. They're like, no, I swear by my rain train. Like, you don't, like, you know, it's something that's passed down, you know, from generation to generation now. Like, look, son, I'm ready for you. You know, you have your own place. It's time for you to take pride in your lawn, much like I did. Here you go.
A vintage one. There's a vintage one.
Cast iron. For $85? Good Lord. Like,
does it even have, it doesn't even, I'm looking through the listing to see if it has like a production date, but like.
It's rusted and everything. This is somebody who, this feels like somebody, like, I mean, it says vintage Sears Robux, but like, this feels like Sears somebody made it themselves. This is just like, I had some scrap metal together and I put it together. Like, jeez. You know, slap vintage on anything. Apparently, there's a vintage waffle iron for, you know, $65. I feel like that's around actually like the normal.
Around the early 1900s, these things were apparently started to be produced.
Yeah, they probably stopped, but at the turn of the thousands,
people started doing lawns. Yeah.
There's a measuring tape here. It's almost 2 feet long. It's about well, no, it's not. It's actually, well, no, because if I go from there, yeah, all right, yeah. If you include the actual sprinkler, it's almost 2 feet. But like the tractor itself, I can't get over this thing, man. It's blue and rusted. Like, somebody tripped over and stubbed their toe real hard.
Oh yeah,
at a barbecue.
On the wheels, the sharp ass wheels.
Yeah. Not great. Well, we're here on the dork side of the ring talking about my profession, Sandy's profession. We're talking about that grass, you know, all good stuff. We're here. We've got coming back, making their returns to the dork side. We've got JHawkBeerMaker.
Yeah. Hello.
And we've got SandyJ.
Hello there.
Sandy Jayhawk. If you just combine the two.
SandyJ.
Sandy
Indeed.
Jayhawk.
What is that called when you like combine two words together?
It's not an anagram. What is it? Amalgagram? No, that's not. That's definitely not it. It's when you. I'm just gonna Google when you combine two words. What is that called? Portmanteau.
Portmanteau. Yeah. Portmanteau. Yeah.
Portmanteau. Is it two or toe?
I've always heard it called portmanteau. I've always heard it pronounced
Let's
that
see.
way.
Wikipedia should have it. Portman. Yeah. No. It's It's a blend of words in which multiple words are combined into a new word, as in smog, which coined by blending smog and smoke and fog. Yeah. So.
Yeah, because somebody was, I don't know who, some like quasi famous YouTube or gamer or something was like, somebody's like, how did you come up with your great, amazing like gamer handle? And he's like, oh, it's these two things that I really enjoy just mashed together. It's just a portmanteau. There's nothing special about it. It's just a portmanteau of my things that I liked or something like that. I can't remember who it was. It was just like a couple of days ago I heard it.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. It is good to have you guys. Welcome back on the dork side. How are we feeling?
Doing good, thanks.
We got
not a bad Monday, except for the heat.
Look, you guys are Midwest. Yeah. You guys are dealing with it. I saw me and Sandy were. That's what started the grass talk was. Talk about the heat and the effect it was having at Sandy's work. But thankfully it's humid, so it's also not destroying the work. But it's good to have
the
you.
moisture of the ground.
Yeah, keep that moist. Keeping the ground moist, baby. Keep it moist, baby. But it's good to have you guys back on. I'm excited to have you on because this is going to go. We're recording this June 13th. This is going to go up next week because I did not have next week's episode recorded, and I'm like, ooh, I need one. And then I said, you know who I need to bring back on? I need to bring back on SandyJ and JHawk, who both your stuffs are going up on Patreon around the same time. Sandy, the watch along from your last episode, the Crybaby match, is up now on support.grumm.tv. And later this week, as of the recording, JHawk, you and Courtney Raptor watch along of the Undertaker Yokozuna. Yeah, when he ascended. That'll be up on Patreon as well. So it's good. I was like, all right, cool. Let's get these two on, and it'll be a good one. And I got a great topic. And we'll talk about that when we get to there. But as the great MC Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, once said, allow me to allow you to reintroduce yourself. We'll start with you, JHawk. Let the people know a little bit about you, where they can find you, and what you got going on.
Well, I kind of cornered the JHawkBeerMaker handle across the internet. The letter J, Hawk, because it's edgy, and I don't want to put G-A-Y, Hawk, because it's actually where I went to school, which is why I use it. I don't know, haven't been on the social medias a whole lot. The world's been terrible to be on social media. So I've been sticking to myself, playing Satisfactory, and Grumm would approve.
Nice.
But yeah, I kind of hanging around home. It's also summer, so lots more activities. I have teenage children. I have activities. We have season tickets to sports ball games. So we've been not on the places online as much as I have over the past year, but it's a good thing.
Being extremely offline. I feel like that's the dream for many. Sandy, what about you? Or not what about you, but it's your turn to reintroduce yourself. Let the people know where they can find you, a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
What do I got going on? Well, as said, I work in the turf industry on the golf course. It's pretty hot out there, but I enjoy my job. Describing the username interesting. Sandy is a nickname I got in high school. Because of my Arabic background, and I like it, and I've liked it since. As far as socials and all that, I same as JHawk. I avoid social media a lot just because of all the toxicity and the shit going on. It's a huge downer for the most part. I got plenty of friends that see that stuff and they're like, "Oh, this is going on." I'm like, "Oh, that sucks." And then if they want to talk about it, I'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's as one of the friends who's just constantly online. Perhaps to my detriment. But it's it's boy, man, is it? I don't know, man. I don't know if it's an addiction that I got, or if it's just it's a constant. I guess it is, but it's am I addicted to just scrolling and the dopamine or the lack of it, I guess, or is it just wanting to know what's going on and being aware of what's going on, because to not
to know all the things,
to know to know what's going on, this way, when people talk about it, you're just oh yeah, I heard about that, or oh, I saw something about that, or oh, hey, I saw this take on, even if it's just oh, I saw this take from a actual informed person, which during the early parts of the pandemic were vital, because you just see people who are yeah, no, this is not good. Hey, don't do this. Hey, you can do this. Hey, let's think about this. And then you just watch everybody just ignore it anyways. So it's just oh, cool. Sometimes there's intelligent people on Twitter. It's just there's no intelligence, on Twitter or other social medias for that matter. But what is on social media, sometimes to a detriment as well, is pro wrestling. But yeah, it's not great sometimes. Like today was not a good day to be a.
Oh, was it?
Well, it's just like, man, like, so, like, it's almost a week of like the 2-year anniversary of like speaking out, especially for specifically for pro wrestling. I think it's a week from now, like, of when a lot of wrestlers were accused and found out to be shit people, and 2 years later, shit still comes out, and it's just like, cool, like, there's a pro wrestler whose stuff you enjoy, and now, oh wait, they were, trying to holler at a 17-year-old. That's fucked up. So it is not great, but I mean, it's still. I said that at the start of like last week's episode. Is like the wrestling itself is very good. It is a very good time to be a wrestling fan and just be a fan of the wrestling, not particularly an individual person and whatnot. But like wrestling itself is fun. Also, Jeff Hardy got pulled over drinking, blowing 3 times the legal limit. So,
Does he have like a clothing line? Is he the origin of that T-shirt?
No, Ed Hardy? No. That's Ed Hardy.
Okay, it's Ed Hardy. Oh, okay. I was unrelated. I was like, there's just like these, there's this clues. You're like, I don't want to hang out with you. Wear one of those shirts.
You start seeing an Affliction MMA shirt, and you're like, oh, you don't shower regularly. All right, cool.
But I was like a huge MMA fan, so it's like I never really got what it was about. But all of the meatheads wearing it, I'm like, but there's so many better fighters out there.
That's just like one of the things of like, man, like somebody you could like the T-shirt, but then you see the type of people that religiously wear them, and you're like, I don't want to be confused with that person at all. Nope, no, thank you. Like that. Look, I'm not gonna lie. Some of those Affliction and Ed Hardy shirts, they're atrociously awful, but some of them are so bad that it's worth wearing. Because it's like, I like the Hawaiian shirt, the ugly Christmas sweater, like look at like the ironicness of wearing the shirt and having it, because then people would be like, oh my god, like if you have an easy to go like ugly T-shirt. But yeah, no, wrestling's in a place. I know we talked about it with each of your individual or previous stuff, but just a refresher. We'll start with you, Sandy. Your background with pro wrestling.
So, had a friend get me into it when I was young with the WCW.
Mm-hmm.
Was not into WWE at the time. That was the Generation X, Stone Cold era kind of stuff. It was around that time. And then I just kind of fell off for quite a while.
Did you ever go back? I know you watched it, but
yeah, I well, as far as like watching it live and all that stuff, not really. But I had at a time like I was watching a bunch of like Netflix like rewinds of like the 2011 year and I can't remember if it was like 2010, 2011. I was just like watching basically they had like these huge recaps of the year, and I enjoyed watching that. But as far as getting on and watching pay-per-views or like anything like that, not hugely.
Gotcha. What about you, JHawk? Your background with the professional wrestling and sports entertainment.
So I being a kid of the 80s and a teenager of the 90s, watched quite a bit of it in that era, and I think I'm going to try to flex my knowledge that I think what Sandy was talking about when he started was kind of maybe called the Attitude Era. Am I wrong? Maybe?
No, you're right. Yeah.
There you go. Yep, that's the thing.
So that's about the time I dropped out for whatever reason. I think there was this whole like the like suck it anti-Generation X nonsense was like childish to me, and I was a teenager, so it's hilarious that a teenager thing. Anyway, so but growing up, my grandparents, like I remember like my grandmother had a thing for the Ultimate Warrior and sort of that era, that like older generation. Which all those guys turned out to be dirtbags anyway, which we talked about just a second ago. But no, actually, since then, so update, since if you go rewatch or re-listen the podcast of Courtney and I, quite a few months ago, it seems like, kind of gotten into indie wrestling in Kansas City, which is kind of near where I live. So been watching a bit of the local indie shop. They call it Journey Pro, and they actually have like a full gym, and they have their first training class where they're like actually teaching people, and they teach referees. They have they're gonna go on their third or fourth show in their own venue where they bought the space. It's interesting. It's hilarious. It's absurd. Their first show they had Efi on and some other GCW folks.
GCW, yeah.
Yeah. So the Howlets have been around, and Efi and his tag partner, I can't remember her name.
Alley Catch.
Alley Catch, yeah. So
Bussy.
they actually did yeah.
You've been watching some Bussy, J-Hawk?
Yeah.
Partaking in some Bussy, huh?
Well, just that one match, and I think I sent you a clip where like it was a two-night show, and Efi had the tag match on the first night, and then he did a singles match the second night where they put like a barrier across, like from the ring to the barrier, and like him and Gary J, I think he's like the local sort of flyer in the Kansas City area, and they did some stupid like dangerous shit, and it's hilarious. And but it seems like there's sort of a quasi local famous guy that's involved with the promotion too. So kind of gotten involved in that way. Not really watching the big stuff. Not really. We watched pay-per-view the other night and whatever it was, but
Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, but yeah, not really getting into the big stuff. Kind of understand the storylines there, but like I think the local stuff's hilarious and interesting, and it's all like just local people doing it for the fun of it, not the dollar of it. So
yeah, it's good to see like the people who aren't doing it, not doing it for the money. They're obviously doing it for like some of them are doing it for money, but like,
yeah,
as a hobby, right?
Legitimately
like,
so, but like
and being able to mix it up with somebody like Effie or the greatest tag team ever, Bussy.
Still East GCW champions. Defended in Kansas City.
Yeah. And like that's always a nice thing because like you never know because I like to think of it like you're seeing that opening band for a concert and oh wow like they were pretty good. They opened for the Rolling Stones, or they opened for Audio Slave, or they opened for Drake, or like a musical like opening act, and you're like, okay, cool, like that's pretty good. And then maybe a year or two later is when they blow up and you start seeing their name a little bit more. Maybe they get a song on the radio, or hey, they get signed to a label proper, and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. But yeah, the independence is great. Like it's just lively. Again, I mean, wrestling is just wrestling, but you can go find local wrestling, and I'm sure it'll be fun. People are willing to do dumb shit, like wrestle with a torn pectoral.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. But this show, so the indie, like the local thing in Kansas City, like they ordered chairs, and apparently they're still on a boat coming from wherever they get produced, and like, so the first two shows they did in their new venue, they're like, hey, I know you bought a ticket for a seat, but you got to bring your own lawn chair because there's no seating.
Your own chair.
So like, and they stream on Twitch, and it's hilarious. And they're like, yeah. So the first two shows they did, like, there's people in like just like the Walmart, folding chair type, or the little like the chairs that break after like 10 uses. Those things, yeah.
Yeah. I was sitting on one the other day, and I was afraid it was gonna break, and it had nothing to do with like it was gonna break under the weight of me. It's just I've been in many of chairs that have had a leg kicked out while I'm on top of it, and just had it gone backwards. So I had a little flashback to when I was younger and friends with a bunch of delinquents who would ruin patio wear, plastic patio wear at that, I should say, just by kicking the leg out, being like, well, it's a 3-legged chair now.
So you never had the luck of like they kick it and they fall on their, and
oh, and you're
just the three legs and you're still sitting.
No, because I didn't, but it did happen while we were like relaxing one day. Somebody kicked out the front because we got to a point where like we were trying to sit like on the front a little bit, so if you did get the back kicked out from underneath you, like you would like be able to like adjust real quick and not fall on your ass. Yeah, that exactly, JHawk. That gif.
That's exactly.
And like so they kicked out the front, but because it's the front and their weight was distributed to the back, they just sat there and they kind of slipped. Like they didn't fall on their ass, but they like slipped and they almost did. And it was like, oh, and they're like, God damn it. And they're like, yeah, now you're an asshole because you ruined a chair for no reason. Like,
ruined the chair.
You didn't even get them to fall. But yeah, I'm like, sometimes it's just like, I don't know how it works. You know, I just know that there's 4 legs and then there's 3 legs and then you're on your ass or on your back. Hopefully you don't crack your head. But yeah, no. So I'm just envisioning people, a heel. That would be tremendous heel work, is to just kick the chair out from underneath somebody while they're sitting. Like somebody who's on it, obviously.
Yeah. Oh,
and
well, that actually happened.
Did it?
How about kicking somebody in the face while they're sitting in a chair in the middle of the I saw that happen.
Yeah.
Well, it was like, so the local promo, like, you know, it's their first show, and so they got to set their heels up, and so their only one heel at the time came out and did a little promo thing, nice. And he had some people join him, and well, no, some people were already there, and they were sort of, you know, faces at the time, and so their turn was they had Walter's kind of the guy that runs the whole gym, and he's kind of like the Vince McMahon of this indie spot. And he's sitting in a steel chair in the middle of the arena, or middle of the ring, and talking. You know, the guy that's primarily the heel is jabbing around nonsense, and the other guy's like, "Hey," and like they're all faces at the time, and then they turn off, and like 3 of them like haul off and like side kick Walter in the face, who's the and they're like, that's their turn moment, was like side kicking Walter.
You just unsuspect poor Walter getting kicked in the face.
There's a really good shot. I'll see if I can find it. There's a really good photo because he wears glasses. There's a really good shot of his like a boot up against his head and his glasses still kind of on but coming off.
Oh man!
Now my brain's just thinking musical chairs match.
Yo! All right. Okay. So I want to create the first ever musical chairs match. Like WWE has done like musical chair skits and gimmicks before. But like an actual match that is a musical chairs match. Like, are we, after you lose, can you, like, the chair gets pulled away, but do you get to, like, use the chair afterwards? Or does, like, like, do you bring your own chairs? Like, and then what happens when you, like, if you get eliminated but your chair stays, what happens? Like, do you have 50%? Like, I don't know. Or like, do you have to have a match and like midway through your? Actually, that might be it. It's like it's like a 6-person match, and every 5 minutes you have to play musical chairs to see who gets eliminated, and then the final 2. the only way to win is to be the final 2 and get a pinfall. So it's like you're doing all this stuff, but it doesn't matter for the first like 25 minutes. That's it. That is the musical chair match. We're doing it. We're gonna Dorkside Wrestling presents musical chair madness.
10 out of 10.
I think we got something there. I think that's a real good. It's a real guy, that'll go up there with the war games of the time. The Elimination Chamber, the Hell in a Cell, the Iron Man match. Great matches. Speaking of matches, we do have a first ever this week. But before we do get to that, you guys pro or against kissing hands when you meet somebody? Like serious or as a joke, but you're just like, oh, nice to meet you. Mwah. Pro or against?
Like a European style? Oh, kissing hand.
Yeah.
Oh, like
kissing hand. Yeah. Like, oh, it's a pleasure. Mwah.
Oh, like kissing the ring, or like okay, yeah. I'm not fond of it. I mean, post-COVID world, I'm not fond of.
That's fair. Yeah, no. What about you?
I mean, in our age, I think it's like one of the like weird, but like you see a movie or anything like that, like it doesn't bother me. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
So if somebody next time, whenever we get the opportunity to meet Sandy like in person, I'm kissing your hand just for that. I'll be like, SandyJ, mwah. Pleasure.
And then I'll give you a curtsy.
Yeah, there we go. And then somebody will ask what's going on. I'll take my hand glove off and slap him across the face.
Challenge me to a duel, eh?
Challenge me, huh? And then we'll pull out our Yu-Gi-Oh cards and I'll bring out my card deck arm thing, and we'll duel. Duel. I think it'll work.
I'm only gonna bring one card.
One card?
Yeah, it's gonna be an Uno reverse.
No!
I don't play by the rules.
I'm bringing an Uno reverse, a draw 4 wild, and a Joker. That's it, because a Joker is wild, which now makes me think of the old like game show Joker's Wild. That was it, right? I'm thinking, the Joker's Wild? Because I'm thinking about the Game Show Network and how much I used to watch the show that as a kid, and all it was were like 60s, 70s, 80s game shows. Joker's Wild. Is that a...
Yeah, that was a game
right.
show. Yeah, it was a game show.
Yeah. There was a film called Joker Wildcard. What? Oh, Wild Card. What? Okay, hold on. It had Jason Statham in it, Sofia Vergara. Huh. The action thriller. It looks bad. It apparently was very bad. 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, cool. Anyways, yeah. So today's topic is a fun one. So JHawk, when you were on, we did 1994. We did the casket match at Royal Rumble 1994. And Sandy, when you were on, we did the Crybaby match which was in 1996. We're cutting the difference here. What we're going to watch is from 1995, and is the boiling point of a long, long feud between Jerry the King Lawler and Bret the Hitman Hart. And it all starts in 1993 when Jerry Lawler kind of, makes fun of Bret Hart and his mom and his dad and all this stuff to be a bad guy. And when Bret Hart won the King of the Ring in 1993, and ever since then, every time Bret would do something, Jerry Lawler, whether it be, on the mic or at the commentary desk, would take shots at Bret Hart, be like, oh, he's not the best there ever was, blah, blah, just being the bad guy. Well, it got to a point where Jerry Lawler was getting other people to involve to fight Bret Hart, and that he would kind of did it. They introduced many a talent. Hakushi was a talent. We've talked about Isaac Yankem, who is actually Bret Hart's opponent following this match. But this one was kind of the one that really made Jerry Lawler put his money where his mouth was and put his money where his foot was as well. Because as royalty does, you kiss the hand, you do all this stuff, but also a king, perhaps an evil king, may make a peasant or somebody grovel at their feet for mercy, to be forgiven, and to kiss their feet. That was the aim that Jerry Lawler had for Bret Hart in 1995. So from the King of the Ring 1995, we're going to watch Bret Hart, Jerry the King Lawler face off in the first time ever in WWE Kiss My Foot match, where the loser has to kiss the foot of the winner. We'll be watching that here on the Dork Side of the Ring. taking a break in the action. It is myself here, Grumm, just with a little bit of letting you know what we got going on the Patreon the next couple of weeks. Going up, we put up the Crybaby watch along. We put up the Taker Ascending. It's the entire casket match between The Undertaker and Yokozuna from the Royal Rumble 1994. Actually, Sandy was on the Crybaby one. JHawk was on the Taker Ascends one. And then we're chugging along. I'm going to get them up every other week, every other Saturday morning. They'll be up to view on the Patreon. I'm getting these episodes out as fast as I can so that you can listen to them as early as you can. And a little sneak previews of what we're working on, what I'm going to be working on as well, with the McMahon McMonth and all that fun stuff over at the Patreon. Support.grumm.tv. Go over there. Give it a little look. I love it. Thank you. Let's get back to the show.
And that is it. We are back on the dark side of the ring. First impressions, we'll start with you, JHawk, of the first ever Kiss My Foot match.
First ever? Is it the only one ever? Did they ever redo this?
They did do it, yes. They did this, I feel like, a couple times. But the other time I remember does involve Jerry Lawler facing Michael Cole in a Kiss My Foot match in like 2012.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good bit. I think it's hilarious. Like, there was some good moments. I don't know, like, if it stands up of all the, is this pay-per-view worthy of a bit to do? I don't know. Like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, this seems like you can see this on a normal weeknight kind of thing. But I don't know. I guess the build-up was interesting. The way that they did all the Yeah, I guess that's why. Yeah, that's why they did the pay-per-view, because you were saying that they had Lawler, Lawler doing like preparations of like putting stuff on his feet so they stanked extra special.
Yeah, he had barbecue sauce, coleslaw, anything you could think of that would make a foot stinky. Then yeah. It did have the Kiss My Foot match happen again in 2011. I was off by a year. It was
a good long break.
Yeah, I don't think there were any other ones. I'm just seeing if there were, but I know in 2011, Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler had a match, and it basically was the culmination of their feud. Michael Cole was a bad guy, and like, if Jerry the King, he had technically beat Jerry the King Lawler at WrestleMania, and also, like, if Jerry Lawler lost, he'd have to give Michael Cole his Hall of Fame ring, and personally induct him into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything additional on top of those two. So yeah, no, it's just those two. Thankfully, we've only had to see only a little foot thing. Big for the foot fetish people, though.
Yeah. Well, or the anti-foot people. Like, there's some anti-foot people out there too. That, like, my wife's one of them. Oh my god, feet they're dirty. They're disgusting. Like,
yeah.
If I so much as put my foot on hers, like, just sitting next to each other on the couch, she'll like freak out.
Oh.
What about you, Sandy? First impression from the Kiss My Foot match?
I thought it was a pretty good bit. And as far as like the match went, I thought it was pretty well done as far as speed. Because I mean, I generally like to see a match go a little longer and be more fun, but I think it was like just the right amount of time, and like it got like to get all the bits in of like taking the boot off and all that kind of stuff. Wasn't dragged out.
Yeah, it was paced very well. Very well. Like, matches like those could drag. I feel like the Crybaby match was a little too long.
Yeah, it felt like it dragged a little.
Yeah, and the casket match we watched, JHawk, definitely dragged on. But
that was a while.
that match stopped being a match for 10 minutes in, and it didn't wrap up for another 20. But yeah, no, like that. I love a good match that's paced like the Hell in a Cell match that we watched last weekend or 2 weekends ago. I can't remember off the top of my head. With Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, that was paced very well because it gave you time to be like, this motherfucker is wrestling with a fucking torn pectoral, and then we're gonna have another good match, and we're not gonna overdo it in terms of like length. That may have overdone it with like the amount of gimmicks that they ended up using, but definitely was a well-paced match and didn't like feel like it dragged on. But it's a good like I agree, Sandy. Like that was a good thing. I think it was about 18 minutes. Maybe I mean what we watched was 18 minutes. It might have been like 16 minutes, bell to bell. So nice.
Wow. It was that long.
Yeah. What we watched was 18, and there was we watched the Bret Hart promo in the beginning, which oh boy, Bret Hart, not the best on the mic. Not his.
Them words be hard sometimes.
Them words be whooping his ass. Oh, sorry. It technically was a 9-minute match. Like the actual.
Okay.
So the actual match itself was 9 minutes. So we watched twice.
It felt around 10.
Yeah.
But with all the the extra bits and stuff like.
Yeah. He put his whole foot and everything. We'll get to that. But the Bret Hart promo starts off and he is just like he's like, yeah, wish I could say I didn't train hard for this match, but I have. And it's like, wait, what? Why don't you want to say you trained hard for this? They had a match previously that Jerry the King Lawler won. But Jerry the King Lawler won by not good deeds,
outside interference,
and like
So from you saying that, like I wish I could say I didn't train very hard for this. I mean, like that's a very big like. I wish I could say like I didn't like care or try because I know I'm gonna win because Jerry Lawler is just old and crap and whatever. Mm-hmm. Like I think that's kind of maybe where his mindset was. But he's like, yeah, but I put a little bit of effort into it to, make sure I don't get kind of screwed over on this.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's just it was a weird way to start the promo, really, and then like,
context.
And then later he's like, this guy, he's called, like, he, like, provides the context later, which is like, he said a lot of mean things. He's talked disparagingly about me. He's embarrassed me, embarrassed my, said embarrassing things about my mom and my dad and the fans. And it's like, what do the fans have to do with it? like, you could have stopped there. He said bad things about me and then my parents, and then no one else would have cared. Like, you don't need to say the fans, like everybody understands. He crossed the line. He called your mom. He said mean things about your mom. You don't need to include me, man. I don't give a. In terms of where we rank in your life, mom is up there, dad is up there, fans not up there.
I don't know, man. White shirt guy might have been like, so he was talking shit about me.
That's true. That guy was like invested. I love being in a crowd, like a wrestling crowd, and being like in it, getting caught up in it. But that man, he was alone in a sea of people, just enthusiastic. Yes. I could see the pupils of his eyes from the hard camera, and he was like 4 or 5 rows back a little. I should not have been able to.
That was a 90s era camera.
Yeah. That man said, yeah, Bret, he talks shit about me. Kick his ass. But then he was like Bret's never been a very good promo. His best work came later in his career as he became a bad guy and was just kind of shit talking America. But like it just never felt comfortable for him to be like, yeah, you know, like I'm gonna fight Jerry Lawler. He said some fucked up shit about my mom. You know, he's lucky I agreed to a kiss my foot match and not a bring your gun to work match. Like like I got something for you. But like, dude, it didn't set the mood right at all. And then Jerry Lawler has a weird, you know, very 90s bad guy promo coming out of it, very unlike himself, because like Lawler was very good at being able to have a fluid promo, and he just didn't have one. He was just like, he's like, "What's that smell? Was that you? Is that you?"
Oh yeah.
Like, it's like, what are we doing here, folks? Can we just let the man go to the ring, let him get on the microphone, say some disparaging stuff?
Dude,
this is
fight
weird.
Now. Nobody knows what they want to say.
No, yeah, just
Nobody
fight.
can words today.
No,
just fight.
we're here to fight. We're not here to, you know, talk. Talking done. Fighty fight now. And the match was a good solid match. I mean, Jerry Lawler, we were talking about like the ages and everything. Like Jerry Lawler's in his 40s, like, but I mean he's been doing it for 20 years. Bret Hart's in his late 30s, doing it for probably 20 years. So two guys who have done it for a long time, had pretty good chemistry, good times.
Yeah.
But my question is, like, if you were in a kiss my foot match, right? How are you prepping to get your foot stinky? Like, that's the whole thing, is you want your foot to be as stinky as possible, so that when you, in your mind, when you win, you're gonna make him kiss a stinky foot. Are you just relying on are you just relying on like sweat to make it stink, or are you going the extra mile?
I'm wondering if like I wouldn't want to like do the Jerry Lawler like weeks and weeks or whatever. I feel like I would do like a bucket or something full of some nasty shit where like once it's time, like I just dip my foot in there, be like, all right, buddy.
Here we go.
Just a last minute. All right.
I went out and got the compost juice out of the backyard and put my foot in it.
Yeah, I feel like you just gotta like prepare. Like, I mean, you're not going into it, right? You're not going into it thinking, all right, I'm not gonna lose. I might lose this. You know, you want to have that confidence. So you're gonna, like me, I'm like, all right, cool. We're gonna make it stink with some sweat. Maybe put some onions in my sock as well, so that A, it makes it stinky. B, it makes it it tastes weird when you go to kiss my foot, and B,
I thought you were gonna say it makes it tasty.
no.
It's the aromatic vegetables.
And then C, it drains all the antioxidants from my body, so that I get better as the match goes on. You know, you ever see that? Like the like, you're supposed to wear, or I guess I don't know where this came from, but you're supposed to put onions in your socks when you sleep. And then the onions, like, take out the oxidants and the toxins in your body.
I have never heard of that.
That sounds like some middle-aged white woman voodoo nonsense.
I don't know. Like, it was one of these things. I remember seeing a commercial for it. Like, I slept with an onion in my sock. Like, put an onion. Wake up to this. I'm trying to find. There was a commercial that was like, hey, this is what the same. It is the same idea, but like, yeah, you're supposed to like put an onion in your, like, cut an onion in half raw and sleeping in your socks. Like,
is this like a Gwyneth Paltrow commercial?
Placing a raw cut onion in contact with your foot overnight, quote, purifies your blood and removes toxins and heals your body, which is Snopes is like, nah, that's false. Like,
I'm like, my doctor's not recommended this to me.
yeah. So I want to see where it started. So the Chinese found that there are thousands of tiny nerve endings in the bottom of the feet. These nerve endings act as access points to the internal organs. They are also closely linked to the nervous system. Onions have strong antibacterial, antiviral properties. When you cut an onion and place it on the bottom of the foot, it gets right to work removing toxins and healing your bodies. This is from a prolific purveyor of misinterpreted science and blenders. He explains a basic rationale in 2016. So I'm trying to. There was like a commercial for like a as seen on TV product type thing that was like oh hey, like instead of using using onions, use this thing. And I'm like, what do you mean using onions? Excuse me? Like, run that back.
What?
When did we start using onions? I'm confused.
When did we start putting onions in our socks?
I didn't. I haven't. I'm confused. Should I miss something?
No, like,
There's
I've
also
never
a lot of people who don't sleep with socks on.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. Like, I can't. I can't sleep
Maybe
with
just
socks
tape
on.
them. Just like tape some
Maybe.
onion to your socks, to your feet.
Then, like, what happens when my feet start to sweat?
So you just get a little piece of tape. Like you're not.
But like it's gonna like the tape's gonna
It's
fall
gonna
off.
leak into the bed.
Yeah, and then I got onion juices at the foot of my bed.
onion and foot juice in the bed.
Like I do when I sleep, I do the like stick a foot out off the bed so that it regulates
Nope.
my temperature. But my other foot's in, so if I got either I'm getting unbalanced toxins or I'm gonna have some onion juice in the bed. Like no, like what? Like I can't sleep with socks. I know that there are people who sleep with socks, and more power to you, I guess. I'm not one of those people. No. I sleep too hot to have socks. I'd wake up in a pool of sweat at like 2 a.m.
What about you, Sandy? You sleeping with one sock, two sock, maybe even three socks, maybe on your hands as well?
It's very dependent for me. My ex was like the one who really like told me about like you're not supposed to sleep with socks on. I was like, oh. I was like, but then my tootsies get cold.
You gotta get those like half socks. Only for your toes. You gotta get like a skeletos, but like for socks. Like I feel like they have them. They're like foot mittens. I think they call them fittins.
Oh, fittins. Because I've seen the shoes that are toe shoes.
The skeletos.
Oh, so I'm kind of 50-50. Like, yeah, like if I'm feeling hot, like I'll definitely sleep without them. But like quite often, like I just always have socks on.
Oh yeah, I have I'm not wearing socks right now, but that's because my office gets hot, and I like the coolness of like the concrete floor. I
also don't. But part of that was the heat.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. If it's cold, oh dude, I used to be a sock guy, and then I became a slippers guy.
Slippers.
See, I just don't have any right now.
See, I got moccasin slippers. They
Nice.
come in clutch. They make my feet sweat though. If it's like not cold, like if it's like if it's below freezing outside, then inside, like, we crank the temperature up a little bit more, and then it's like, all right, I don't need to be wearing these all the time, but definitely right now while I'm walking through the house, because we got hardwood floors, so it's all cold.
Yeah.
We had in the carpeted rooms, not so much, but that's like very rare. Like I think we have. I'm trying to think of like all the room. I think there's 2 rooms with carpet, and then the basement in our house. But yeah, it's just absolutely socks going to sleep. I used to do it similar to you, Sandy, when I was cold. Even when I'm cold, I can't do it now. It's just I wake up in a ball of sweat, and I'm just like,
I can't do it. Nope.
It's when did I start sleeping in a pool? Ugh. But yeah, I think
think onion. I think I'll put onion in my sock while I'm wrestling, like just like a slice, not a whole onion, but like a slice.
Like a hamburger sized slice.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't put any condiments on because then my feet you get slimy, and then my brain would be thinking about that the whole time. Probably onion and foot sweat. Maybe some dirty. I'd probably wrestle in dirty socks. Some ones that were, sweaty and dirty already. That's probably what I would do. Other than that, I'm not going too far. I'm not putting my feet in horseradish, not bathing. I might not wash my feet for a couple days. I might put them in plastic bags, how you're supposed to do when you have a broken hand or something like that. When you're getting a shower, you're supposed to wrap it in plastic so it doesn't get wet. I do that for a couple days, maybe that week of showering, so that my feet don't get washed properly, and then they get extra stinky, and then hopefully I would win so that I do not have to taste stinky feet.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to lose.
Just, man. He ends up going, he ends up going to the dentist, but immediately when you think about that, it's like foot and mouth disease. Ugh. He's not it's
just a real thing. It's a
real absolutely
human thing. It's actually common in kids.
Mm-hmm. Because they be putting their feet in mouth.
Yeah.
You gotta put your foot in somebody else's mouth, not your own.
Or they touch their feet and then they touch something else, and then it's terrible.
Look, feet are dirty. Dirty.
Yeah.
I try to wear I wear socks all the time because I'm trying to let my shoes live longer. And if you I know people who never wear socks when they wear shoes. Oof, and it's I'm first off, when you first get the shoe, you get in a blister.
Yeah.
100%, I guarantee you're gonna, but then you're just I'm not gonna wear socks. And it's but you have days old. Do you you have days old sweat in your shoe now?
Yeah, at least your sock kind of takes that sweat up and you pull it away and it didn't stay. Yeah, there was a time where I was in the desert, right, and because we live in a country that likes to invade other countries and try to secure oil rights. And yeah, I couldn't imagine, we're kind of obligated to keep our feet clean. You've seen Vietnam movies, you've seen World War II, World War I movies about how soldiers and clean feet, blisters,
Lieutenant Dan makes it very clear.
Yeah. That was one of the very few things. It's if you're going to carry something extra, carry an extra pair of socks. When you're carrying everything already and you want to save weight, dudes are okay, I don't need underwear for this week. But by God, I'll take an extra pair of socks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can reverse your underwear. Pat Patterson, very infamously would go days without changing underwear because, quote, as long as the yellow is on the yellow and the brown is on the brown, you're fine. Basically saying as long as the yellow is on the front and the brown's in the back, you're all right. And you just reverse it, and it was that's just disgusting. That is just. But I mean, if you're traveling like that, and you're I gotta make these underwears last, but still, man,
That's also making the assumption that because I know dudes that just didn't wear underwear because it's if I gotta carry everything I need for a week, I'll take an extra pair of socks and no underwear to save weight.
That's just, gotta wear underwear. Gotta wear it.
Gotta at least have a banana hammock.
Gotta have support. Gotta support them, Otherwise, you're gonna end up having bat wings, and who wants that? But yeah, all right. So this dork side went weird. I knew we were gonna talk about socks.
You gave us a foot fetish video. Did you expect it to go anywhere but weird?
We're not. It's not a foot fetish. It's just a kid. Look, I've said this long. I've said I don't kink shame. You're into what you're into. Feet kinks do not make sense to me. And if there was one kink to shame, that would be strongly considered something we're gonna like to shame. I'm not going to do it right now. Somebody might. But also like you can have a foot fetish, but keep that to yourself. Like there's people who are proud of their kink.
Oh yeah.
Going back to extremely online, like I just saw today, a dude was talking shit about like a pro wrestler. Oh, that's what it was. Everybody was making fun of Ronda Rousey's like promo skills because they're somehow worse than they've ever been, and this guy is like defending them and bringing up like other wrestlers, and people like, yo, like, dude, like, why'd you pick those people particularly, huh? And then somebody goes like underneath the comments like, yeah, nah, he not only is he racist, he's a freak, and it's like him tweeting openly from the same account about being like used as a surfboard by a woman in a bikini and talking about how her feet, smelled great. And I'm like, nah, I think we need to bring back public shaming. I feel like I feel like if there was ever a case for like shaming adults, that is the one. And I don't know go ahead.
Is calling it weird a shaming?
I don't think that's shaming per se, because weird is subjective. I feel like
yeah, that's why I said it's you didn't expect us to get weird. Like I have I don't shame. I try not to shame either. I have no problem with people that have like a foot fetish, but like I think it's like when it comes to that kind of stuff, I feel like there's a weird spectrum, and that's kind of like on that weird spectrum.
It's something we can all agree on, that it's not so much subjective at that point. It's just like, man, like, hey man, whatever rocks your jimmies, but it don't rock my jimmies, like at all. No, thank you. Keep them away. Keep your tootsies away. The only tootsies I want are the flavored Tootsie Rolls, because I like the flavored Tootsie Rolls more than the regular Tootsie Rolls, which I think some people might find weird, but I don't.
My ex told me she always wore socks around her like brother-in-laws because like they had foot fetishes, and I'm like, oh,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was like,
that is ridiculous.
Yeah, both her sisters, guys were and like into that, and she's like, so I always wear socks around them, and I'm like, okay.
Okay, so it's just mini questions. But the first one would be like, how did she know? Like, does her sisters be like, hey, just let you know? I want
to say they openly told her.
Yeah, like it could be like, it was the guys like they were at a pool party and her brother-in-laws were like, hey, nice feet. Or did her sisters go like, hey, just so you know, if we're out and about or if they're at the house, throw some socks on.
I'm pretty sure it was like the open, at some point they were just like, yeah, you have nice feet. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Look, boy. So I worked at a grocery store. The only other job I've had in my life is at a grocery store. And I worked in a fun department, which was the grocery valet. So basically, if you're shopping, you bring me your completed order. I tag it. I give you a card. You go do whatever you want. You can go pick up dry cleaning and take it home and then come back. Whatever. It would be there, and I would put them in there. I would put your groceries in your car. It was great with moms with multiple kids, or mom with a kid, or parents in general. Basically like, hey, like you get your kids in the car without fighting them, fighting them or the groceries. Well, there was a guy who worked there, and I'll never forget him. He was a weird dude, and he would just talk to me about regular things, and then all of a sudden just stop. I'm like, yo, what is going on, man? He goes, oh, sorry, I saw some feet I really like. And I was like, what? What?
That's
like, why are you? You like feet that much that it stopped you mid conversation? And now look, I understand it. Okay, I am a man. There are parts of women that I find especially attractive, and if I see a particularly super attractive to me, I will have a momentarily short circuiting. But I also didn't openly do that at work. Like, I just felt like it was kind of weird to be like, creeping on people. No one goes to the grocery store to get hit on, right? So I'm not doing that. This ain't the movies. This isn't a Hallmark movie. It's not a Lifetime movie. It's not a rom-com. Ain't nobody going to a grocery store looking for their next hookup. Not to him.
I wouldn't be against it.
Oh no, I wouldn't be against it.
Although I do most of my shopping in Walmart, so I don't know how well that would go. People openly hitting on me at Walmart, I'd question that.
It's like, I understand, like, hitting on people at a bar or like out, but like nobody's going to a grocery store, my man. Like that, like you don't go to a grocery store going, I hope I meet the one. Today I hope somebody, I'm putting this on. I hope somebody comes up and they start hollering at me. Boy, no. So he would stop mid conversation to look at some feet, and when I say look at some feet, I mean he would stop and stare at a woman walking with open-toed shoes from like the other side of the store. Like, this man had eagle eye for toes.
That's ridiculous. That's excessive.
Very well. It gets worse, or it gets more excessive. Depends on how you. So, occasionally, said women with open-toed shoes would come and use our service, and he couldn't talk to them because he would just be staring at their feet. And at first, like, I thought it was, he's nervous, right? Like, before I knew he had I thought he had a thing with social anxiety, like and whatever. Like, he really didn't talk that much, but if he did talk, it was only to when one other person was around and whatnot. All right. And when I found out it was a foot, then I'm like, this man getting his rocks jolly by like looking at some feet. And so one day, woman comes in wearing thong flip-flops. So her feet are all exposed. And he just couldn't help himself. And he said to this woman who was dropping off her order, he said, "You got pretty feet. You want to go out with me?"
And you still work there the next day?
I'm sorry that full sentence was said.
Yeah. But in front, and I'm like, I am in shock because he didn't, he normally kept that shit to himself. Well, I guess he found the pair of feet, the 10 toes, the perfect archway, the perfect ankle bone. Like, I don't know what this man was into, but he said, "You got pretty feet. You won't go out with me."
Those little piggies he wants to take home.
And
all of them.
She looked at him in utter disgust, looked at me, and I had to, and mind you, I am under 18. I'm maybe 16, I'm maybe 17 right now, right?
No.
Okay. I look older. I look 19, 20, but I am 17 years old. I am not the adult in this situation. She looks at me and she goes, "Are you all freaks? Is that why you all work here? Give me my stuff back." And then she leaves. And I'm like, the fuck just happened?
Wow. And
I'm like, yo, I'm going to get in trouble because this man couldn't keep it in his pants for some fucking toes, man. This man got horny for some archways that weren't the golden ones or the St. Louis one. He got horny for some toes, and now I'm going to lose my cushy gig because of him. Next day, I come into work. I get pulled aside by my manager almost immediately. Like, I clock in. They tell me to clock out.
They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you with your...
I clock in, go over. They said, TJ, can you come to the front desk? I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm like, mind you, the front desk is not even 5 feet from where I stand. Right? So somebody could have poked their head over the desk and said, hey, come over here. And they're like, hey, can you clock out because we need to talk to you? I'm like, I just clocked in. And they're like, yeah, clock out. I'm like, do I have to stay longer? They're like, no. I'm like, what? Oh no! Like I'm like, am I getting fired for yesterday? And they're like, no, but we do want to talk about yesterday. I'm like, okay. So like I fake clocked out so that I wouldn't get dock time. And I go up there into the office. It's
meetings are on company time, bitches. I know what you're talking about. Like, meetings are on company time.
Correct. Look,
they can't tell you to talk off the clock.
I'm 17. They could tell me a lot of shit and they can get away with it.
Yep.
So I faked it because I'm like, my head's like, wait, so I don't have to stay later. Because they're like, oh, it shouldn't take that long. Like, you're not, shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. And I'm like, then why do I need... My brain's like, well, why the fuck do I need to clock out then? So I do the thing and I go up. And so they're at, they're sitting there and they're like, so what happened yesterday? I was like, and I guess I'm like, there's a lot that happened, but you want to talk specifically about the foot thing. And they're like, yes, we want to talk about the foot thing. I'm like, all right. So, and I explained to them what happened. And they're like, you didn't say anything? And I'm like, no, I'm not into feet. In fact, I think that's gross. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to. He was complimenting her feet. He said you got some nice feet. You want to go out? Like it's like, hey,
listen, I was in shock.
like, hey, mama, you got a fat ass. You trying to go out or something? Like that man said, yo, you got some nice piggies. So let's go out. And they were just like my one manager was like in just like as much shock as me, and he's like, look, like I know people have things that they like, but like keep that doesn't need to be. You don't need to be You don't need to be bringing it to work. And another manager goes, I don't care what. No, like you can. There are things you can. There are some things that are acceptable to bring to work. You can compliment somebody's hands. They won't find that weird. To say you got some nice feet to go out, that's fucked up. And I'm sitting there as a 17-year-old, right? And I'm like, am I in trouble? They're like, no, but next time you should report it. I'm like, report? Like, how do you report? Hey, yo, hey, man, Bob over in the deli aisle, in the deli, he told this lady she got some nice knuckles. He loves her knuckles. Like he said he got some nice earlobes. I want to suckle on them. Like, yeah, nah, I'm gonna report. Like, what? I'm 17. I ain't doing that shit. Just don't stop being weird. Stop being creepy. He got fired. He got upset because he's like, what'd I do wrong? And they were like explaining to him like, you can't hit on customers and make them feel like uncomfortable. Like you can't do that in work here. And he goes, well, but that guy can talk to, and like he didn't understand that like the guys who would hit on customers weren't actively hitting on customers openly like that. Like they would come back. Yeah, like they would come back like, yeah, no, I was spitting game. Right? So to him, he's like, I was spitting game. Like, I was telling she has some nice feet. Like, it was just one of the things of like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I understand, like, there are people who don't they're not comfortable in and used to hitting on, people of their preferred attraction. But, like, there's a time and a place, and absolutely at work, hitting on your customer is not the time nor the place. And that is the story of how I watched somebody get fired over a foot fetish. Over feet. Meanwhile, Jerry the King Lawler sucking on his own toes. And Bret Hart. He said he got them all the way up there. Yeah, the match itself, there wasn't anything like spectacular to write home about other than the two notable fan reactions, which were the one guy watching Bret Hart slam Jerry the King Lawler into the barricade and having zero reaction at all. Just
be like, oh,
like
that happened.
And then there was the man who was completely racked out of his fucking mind, yelling, screaming, telling Bret Hart to make Jerry the King Lawler kiss something more than his feet. And that makes me wonder, what did that man mean? Because
I don't know, it's like the sign that said, "I got something you can kiss."
yeah. Like I'm like, is that a you can kiss my ass, or you could kiss another part of my body sexually, or like I don't understand. I want to know. I want to find this man, and I want to see what his excitement about that was, because if his thing was, he could have been a foot guy for all I know. I mean, look, the pay-per-view happened in 1995 in Philadelphia. My coworker was a little older. That could have been my coworker for all I know. That could have been him. He's just like, I don't care whose foot it is. I'm trying to see some foot getting kissed action. I wanted to lead them more. Like, man, it's like he was excited. He's like, Bret's gonna win. Yes, kisses. Make him kiss your dick. Yeah, make him kiss your chest. like where was that? I want to know.
I mean, it was the '90s with Bret Hart. I know there was a lot of women that would kiss any part of Bret Hart.
I don't know why. He's greasy. That man.
Just a good Toronto boy.
He's Calgary. He's a Calgary boy.
Or Calgary. Oh, Calgary.
He's old Calgary.
DJ. Yeah. Or I don't know if you guys got. There's a DJ syndicate in Kansas City from DC, and he says he's from Canada, and he says Calgary because apparently where he's from. They like to trash talk Calgary.
I had a friend from Calgary, and every time I would call it Calgary, he would get upset. To which, when we did I used to do like wrestling role play, e-fetting, and I made a character who was very bad named Cal Gary, and he was Cal Gary from Alberta, Canada. not from Calgary, Alberta. Calgary. He was Cal Gary from Alberta, Canada. And he would just and every time he just hated it. It's just like, and I get it. Like, you know, you hear a bunch of people make fun of your hometown, but also like, it's literally Calgary. Like, he's talking about portmanteaus. They took California and Gary, Indiana, and turned it into a place. But yeah, Sandy? What was your read on the very excited white T-shirt man?
Oh man, dude, he was in his own world, and that was exciting. Because like people were like, you know, watching and like they weren't really like moving too much, like as far as like cheering and stuff, and this guy was just going off, like hands up in the air, pointing, like yeah. Like this is the guy you see at the front of a crowd at like a concert, and I mean he got his money's worth, I guess.
He was there for one match. It was the Bret Hart. He didn't care about anything else.
Match.
I guarantee. I'm hyped. My two favorite things: wrestling and feet. Yes, fuck yes. Like, dude, this is the foot episode. I'm sorry, everybody. If you came here looking for non-foot talk. Wrong episode. You
gotta put a trigger warning on the podcast title.
We talking feet. We talking feet in wrestling wrestling podcasts. We're not showing feet though. No one's showing feet.
No.
Well, Jerry Lawler and Bret Hart are showing feet, but that's per the stipulation. Yeah. So and it all leads. So we did this. I wish I would have done this in actual order because I feel like that's the way to do these like connected things. Like Jerry Lawler lost this match and he immediately goes to his doctor, whose name is Isaac Yankem DDS, and he becomes like it becomes Bret Hart's next opponent is Isaac Yankem DDS at SummerSlam in like 2 months after this, and it's the now known as Kane, Mayor Kane, the dickhead that he is, to be like that was his first gimmick, his foot in the door moment was as an evil dentist who had an atrocious mouth himself. We can't get away with it, man. Like, look, there was the agony of defeat pun from Michael P.S. Hayes on the call. He just had to get it in there, and you know, Vince was like looking at him like, "What the? Come on, like that was bad. That was bad. You forced that one." He's just like, "Nah, that one's." I don't know,
man. I think he might have been like, "Dang, why didn't I think of that?"
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Like he had a great call. But like, it's just like where it leads because like it started like Bret Hart could never get away from Jerry the King Lawler. Like they had a Survivor Series match where it was the Bret Harts versus the Kings. It was the Harts versus the Kings. They would just keep going. Bret Hart, every time Bret Hart had a moment of like triumph, like Jerry the King Lawler is like just shitting on him, and they were like this. I want to say until about '96, and then even when like Bret Hart and Stone Cold had this, like started with their feud, like Lawler started like pull back a little bit because he's like Bret Hart was showing more of an edge, and then Stone Cold became a good guy, so then they were in this weird spot where Bret's a bad guy, so Jerry the King Lawler's like can't like be too hard on him, and he's also a bad guy because he's shitting on America, so like Jerry Lawler's like, I can't shit on America. Like, and like he's in this weird, but Jerry Lawler, for as shitty as a person he is very good at wrestling and found a way to basically be like, look, I don't agree with Bret Hart, but I understand, people have been mocking him for years and like doing the whole, like, I haven't been mocking him. No, it wasn't me.
No, not me.
I'm not the person at fault here. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's the fans' fault. It's like, my man, you were talking about his mother and his father. Like, goddamn. But yeah, that was the Kiss My Foot match. And it turned into feet talk. I can't stand it. Thank you. That was a forced one.
The feet talk episode.
The foot talk, the foot side of the ring. Just go in and take like a cartoon foot and put it on every character's face and just call it the foot side of the ring. Just but yeah, final thoughts for the Kiss My Foot match. We'll start with you, JHawk.
Oh, I don't know, man. It's been a while ago since we watched it, but yeah, I mean, it's a good bit. Obviously, maybe the WWF/WWE, whatever, didn't think it was a good bit because we talked about they didn't really revive that anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess it's, as you said, it's probably better in context of the storyline of the Hart Lawler saga.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. Like it's. Why it's I think they did on purpose. Like feet are so polarizing. Like you either like get repulsed or you're in love with it, like the dude that you worked with. So I don't know, like maybe they found the balance. I don't know.
Look, we're not gonna show feet, but then we will show feet. But we won't. We're gonna do a whole match about feet, but we won't have an actual foot in it for a little bit. Just.
Well, then they made Lawler, like Bret had normal, like when he pulled his stuff off, he had like a normal sock on and all that.
Yeah.
But like in mid-match, when Lawler starts using his boot as a weapon, like he's got some like holy ass, like they, you could see like the stage makeup on the sock to make it look dirty, and like they cut like the heel out and stuff, and so like they're kind of playing it up during the match too that he was up to something.
It reminded me of the late Brody Lee's. When he was as Luke Harper in WWE, his whole gimmick, his gimmick was he was a member of the Wyatt family, which was this kind of like cult-like, swamp people gimmick thing. And he just had an undershirt, like the white, A-frame shirts, but it was dirty. It looked so dirty. It was stained. It was greasy looking. But apparently, it smelled so nice. And he had found a way to make it look dirty, but yet be clean. And like my thought process is, like they didn't use like makeup on it. Like that was his stuff, and he would bring it from home and all that stuff. Like that's, huh? Like because normally even like you have socks
Like
that are old.
Yeah.
When they get the yellow stain on them, right? You're like, all right, these are just done. Like they stink. They are stained with the sweat. Like they're time to go. But he had like a whole bunch of undershirts that were like that, and they weren't stinky at all. Which makes me think like maybe that sock was a real, because like it could have just been made up to look like a bad sock, but also I wouldn't put it by Jerry Lawler to have a shitty sock that he just kept just in case. Like he's like, you'll never know. Hey Vince, like the idea that he's like, Vince, I got a great idea. Look
He
at
just
this
puts
sock.
his foot on the table.
Look at this sock. The whole match where I get to wear this sock, and I get to put this sock in somebody's mouth. Mick Foley is in
Mick Foley, yeah.
a socko. All right,
a good
I like
idea.
that idea. Yeah,
Good idea.
we'll save that for a couple years from now. But yeah, like I wouldn't put it by that Jerry Lawler had a shitty sock like that, and was like, cool, I'll get to use it and then get some money out of it. What about you, Sandy? Final thoughts on the Kiss My Foot match?
I thought it was a pretty good bit. I thought the match again was like very well paced, and I don't, you know, he said like it happened like one more time. I don't know that it was a good enough bit to like repeat, but I mean, depending on the wrestlers involved, maybe. I wouldn't be against like wrestling doing that again because it's kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I want them to do it more often. I want more matches where we can shame people who find that attractive. Like,
There you go.
like I want to weed out the real sickos in wrestling. I want a piss in my mouse match. Like I want that. I want the people who find that enjoyable. I want them gone. I want them out. It's something that's like, it's a trolley. I'm gonna get rid of. Yes, it's a one-time match, but we're gonna get all these sickos out of wrestling. It's like, ew. Like this, anybody who's like, it's not so bad. It's not that bad of an idea. I want that. I want a cake fart match. I want people who enjoyed that. I want them gone. I don't know what else. I mean, unfortunately, that might be my boy Jim Jam. He might be gone. There might be something.
Cake fart.
Cake fart. Don't Google that, people. Do not Google it. If you can hear me loud and hear me clear. Do not
We're already
Google.
in the middle of like.
Do not
that
do
conversation.
Abort.
Abort.
They already Googled it before you even said don't Google it. They Googled it.
Abort. Get out of there. Get out of there. Run home. Go home. Just be a family person. Do not know. If you knew what cake farts were before this conversation, good. If you don't know what it is after, you don't need, trust me, you don't need that. You don't need lemon party. You don't need none of them things. Don't need it. Nope. But I am for any match that is vaguely based in a one of the more outlying shameful potential shameful kinks that would out people who would find, like that guy in the white t-shirt. He was too happy to see.
He was
Bret
into
Hart.
it. He was way into it.
The brown noser match.
We had those. We had the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club, and we anything with Rikishi was a brown noser match.
That is true.
He'd shove his ass into people's faces. Yeah.
But imagine a situation where you're getting into that, and then someone Jerry Lawler's it.
I haven't wiped my ass. Vince McMahon, I haven't wiped my ass for 3 weeks. I haven't washed my ass. I haven't wiped my ass. In fact, I ate Chipotle this morning. My diet's been nothing but gas station burritos and Chipotle. Like, jeez. No Cleveland Steamer match. No.
That's too much. Yeah, that's above and beyond.
Yeah, no, that's shameful. If you're into that, go seek help. Seek God, I guess. I don't know. I don't know who would help you. God might turn you away. Vince McMahon might not, though. So go seek Vince McMahon. He might figure out a way to make money, and then we can all shame you for it. But we're wrapping up here one more time. Sandy, we'll start with you. Tell the people where they can find you, things you would like to plug, advertise, anything you would like to use your moment in the spotlight for.
My moment in the spotlight. I do have Twitter at the SandyJ. There might be an underscore after. I don't remember because I don't. I never really plug it. So as far as the things to plug and stuff, again, I'll pull a repeat, and I would like to plug anything at the good old T Grumms. All of his good work, his podcast, etc. You do good work, my bud.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. What about you, JHawk? Let the people know where they can find you. Stage is yours.
Yeah, same thing. I don't use it a whole lot. I have most of the Twitters. Actually, Instagram is the only place I don't use it either. I don't go by JHawkBeerMaker on Instagram because I did temporarily have a job where I had to use Instagram. So it's JHawkBeerGuy because I was worked for a beer brand, and I was not, the beer maker part is all just because I homebrew. But anyway, so yeah, everywhere else it's there, but I don't know. Like I don't been offline for a while, but I still will support my friends locally and not locally that are creating stuff that I enjoy. Was just talking the other week where a friend of mine owns a brewery and she started it a few years ago, and I don't live anywhere near it, but when she puts out a special t-shirt or something she can ship, I will buy a t-shirt because it's direct to the content creator. Yes, beer's content. I enjoy it. So yeah, if your friends, your family, or people that you enjoy, that whatever they make, it could be physical things, it could be content you consume, support them directly as best you can. That's all I've always tried to say.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Support the creators in your life that are doing stuff. Support the people doing things, making changes. Shout out my boy Feeney, doing some good stuff in the Pensacola area. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I want to commend both me and just the group of us for a good tight 2-hour recording.
Nice.
That doesn't normally happen. Normally I realize it's been 2 hours before I start trying to wrap things up. But I'm making a concerted effort to keep things under 2 hours, not just because they're easier and take less time to render and everything for vital recording time, but also it's just like 2 hours is somewhere between 1.5 to 2 hours is the perfect. Anything over sometimes can be sometimes can be bad, and I say that as next week's episode is going to be, I think, at least 2.5 hours. So I'm giving a shorter one this week. We're hitting the target zone, and then next week I said fuck that and went all over. So
nice.
It's all good. But thank you guys, JHawk, SandyJ. Thank you guys for coming on. Love you guys and appreciate. Can't wait to get you guys back on in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Told you it was a weird episode. I gave you the heads up. Look, anytime you're going to talk about a match involving a foot, it's going to happen. Law of just occurrences, it's going to happen. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, JHawk, for coming on. Appreciate it, guys. It was a blast to have you. I appreciate it. Thank you for just indulging the story of how a 17-year-old me was asked to confirm whether or not my coworker said to a woman that she got nice feet, and do you want to go out with me? It's just wild as hell. That was a great episode. Next week's episode 52, the big one. This is one I've kind of had circled for a while. One of not arguably, definitely my biggest guest. Definitely the biggest guest that I've had. Not physically. No. I mean Tyler. You know, he was in the NBA, but he wasn't. But he was in. Look. I kind of spoiled it, I guess. Tyler, I am sexual Jumanji from the Trill Weather Show, coming on. Little backstory. This whole podcast, I've talked about it multiple times, but this is Tyler had a Patreon, and on his Patreon he would do a weekly podcast where it was basically like an AMA or whatnot, and he eventually got around to letting people at a certain tier have some 10 minute 15 minute spot on his podcast, and he was in the midst of watching The Dark Side of the Ring, and I was like, man, they're doing The Dark Side of the Ring, the tragedy sells, right? They're talking about Chris Benoit murdering his son and wife and then killing himself, and Owen Hart, New Jack, and all these things, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wrestling's also goofy as fuck. Wrestling is sad, but also, man, is it fucking goofy. So the first ever thing I did was a spot on Tyler's podcast on the Fun Report. It was myself and Jim Jam, and I showed Jim Jam James Brown appearing at Super Brawl 2000, which we will revisit in a longer thing coming up, coming soon. And from there, it kind of I got people hey, that was a lot of fun. That was hilarious. I need to see this. And that kind of got the idea rolling even further, because I've had the idea of I want to do a wrestling podcast, but I don't want to do a podcast where I'm talking about just being another voice talking about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I want to do something kind of my own, and I want to involve my friends with it. So that is where I figured it out. And so Tyler I am is Trill Withers, is somebody who I owe a great portion of this podcast to, even if he has nothing to do with it from a production thing. But it's just he gave me a little time on his thing. I saw instant feedback, and it felt good on my brain. So I had to go, and I had to get Tyler, and I had to get his co-host, his co-pilot, Sexual Jumanji, the most crucified Scoob, Patty Pimbley's number one enemy. That's. I kind of wish we did it closer to this week's episode, this week, because then we could have talked about that a little bit. But it's a fun episode. We end up talking about the Hollywood Backlot Brawl from WrestleMania 12. It is a good, fun time. The stories. SexJ has the most interesting stories. I sometimes they don't feel real, but they are. And then it's a good time. So it's myself, Tyler, I am Sexual Jumanji, coming together, and it is the Trill Withers show on the Dork Side that I have been looking forward to for 9 months or so. Once I figured I was going to do this podcast quite frequently, that's who I wanted to bring on. Guest number two. Guest number one is Drew McIntyre. So we're working our way up. But we got Drew McIntyre. He's next. I'm coming for you, Drew. Scottish playboy, coming for you. But yeah, it's good times. I don't know what else we got going on. I think well, I got McMahon McMonth, the Twitter at Dorkside Ring, Instagram Dorkside Ring. Follow me at I am Grumm. Appreciate that. And I'm looking at this bush. There's a bush at work that it has a face right now. It's distracting me. Like I'm gonna take a picture of it. I'll post it on the thing. But it just looks like a face from where I'm at. Like it's just like. So yeah, that's kind of distracting me. But yeah, support Grumm.tv. Join the community Discord. It's a good time. Support.Grumm.tv is the Patreon. I appreciate it. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I will see you guys next week. Myself, Sexual Jumanji, Tyler I Am, talking about the Hollywood backlot brawl from WrestleMania 12 between Roddy Piper and Goldust. And there is a special appearance by a very known, not murderer, but definitely murderer involved. That's next week's episode 52. Thank you guys so much. Remember to not take yourselves or wrestling too serious, because wrestling and life is better when no one is taking it serious. I love you guys. Thank you. I'll see you guys here next week on the Dork Side of the Ring podcast.